we finally get a chance to talk to the showrunners for Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, and we get the inside scoop of how the show is put together. Welcome to Symbols and Secrets, the viewer's guide to Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol, both the runaway bestseller with 200 million copies in print and the television show, which is available right now on Peacock TV. You can go to peacocktv.com or download the Peacock app in your app store. It's the streaming service from NBC, and it's where you can watch The Lost Symbol. New episodes every Thursday, but we've only got one new episode left, and then the entire series will be available and bingeable on that Peacock app. And it's also airing on select Monday nights on the NBC broadcast network, so check your local listings. This is a really exciting show for us. Normally, we would go through and break down the symbols and Masonic story elements that are in The Lost Symbol and tell you which ones are legit and which ones the writers and producers are having a little bit of fun with. But today, we actually get to have some fun with the writers and producers themselves. First of all, I'm Maynard Edwards, 32nd degree KCCH, Scottish Rite Freemason, and your host here on Symbols and Secrets. Before we get into the show, take a second and subscribe to the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry channel. Just hit that button right below and subscribe to the channel. Also, make sure you give us a thumbs up on the video. Certainly appreciate that. And we'd love to hear from you. So drop a comment in the comments section. If you've got a question, you've got an idea for an upcoming show, or if you're a Mason and you want to shout out your lodge, all of that, drop it in the comments. And don't forget, turn on those notifications so when new videos come out, you are the first to know. Dan Dworkin and Jay Beattie. They are the writers, the screenwriters, I guess I should say, because Dan Brown is the guy who wrote The Lost Symbol. But these guys are the ones who take Dan's novel and then turn it into a TV show, because writing prose in a novel is not exactly the same as writing a script for a TV show. So Jay and Dan, they've been doing that for a long time. You're going to recognize a lot of the shows that they've done. Let's get into talking to the writers, producers, showrunners. These guys do a lot of things on The Lost Symbol. Dan Dworkin and Jay Beattie. First of all, congratulations on the show's success, and thank you so much for doing this with us. A lot of folks have made a big deal of Ashley Zuckerman stepping into the shoes of Tom Hanks. That's a daunting task for sure. But you guys are picking up the threads of a story left behind by Dan Brown, one of the most published authors of the last 20 years. That's just as tough as what Ashley is doing. So how did you even begin that process, like picking up where Dan left off with these characters?
Well, this idea came to us through CBS, and Imagine had already come up with this idea that it was going to be young Langdon, which we thought was a really smart way to do it as a kind of prequel to try to avoid, the whole Tom Hanks of it all, who was great in the movies, but this wanted to be its own thing. And we could sort of chart the progress of the character through a younger, more rough around the edges Langdon. And that's where we started with it. But it was definitely a daunting task to try to tackle the book. And we didn't have a lot of time. This kind of came to us late in the TV season. So I guess in a way that was a blessing, where we didn't really have too much time to, be anxious about it. We just had to dive right in. So that was helpful. But the book lays out great for a movie. It takes place over 48 hours. I think the hard part for us was really, how do we stretch it into 10 episodes? And there was a lot of great story threads in there to dive into. It was just a matter of, how are we going to weave that tale?
Well, it seemed like inherent in your question was like, did we experience some degree of intimidation or awe or anything like that? Stepping onto this. Yeah.
Well, you got a guitar behind you, and it's like walking into the room and Eddie Van Halen says, "Hey, play me something." It's like, no, I don't really play the guitar. I'm going to just go hide in the corner, coward that I am,
Well, it's a little different though, because it's playing guitar for Eddie Van Halen would be, you are operating in the same exact medium. Whereas Dan Brown's a novelist and we're TV writers, and it's the same, but very different. So I think we realized, without being cocky about it, I think we just kind of naturally understood that we would be able to bring something to this that was new, and from a different perspective. And so for that reason, and Ashley, it's funny, Ashley would say the same thing about stepping into the role that Tom Hanks played. I know he says he did not feel nervousness or intimidation. And I think the same went for us. We're certainly respectful of Dan, who has been awesome, is an awesome guy to work with and an awesome collaborator, which was just a bonus. But yeah, we just kind of, in a way, stepped into it like any other job. That said, one thing we did kind of make ourselves aware of, and we're forced to be aware of on this job, was the idea of having millions of pre-read fans out there for the material we were adapting. So that was a little different in that we had to figure out what was the balance between honoring what he had and the stuff we knew that the fans would demand versus what kind of new infusions did we want to put into it of our own.
Both of you guys, when you look at like the IMDb page, or you look at the credits at the back of the show, both of you guys have a gazillion different credits, producer, showrunner, writers, all kinds of stuff. What's the day-to-day like for you guys? The
showrunner, I mean, for people who don't know what it entails, it is a all-encompassing, fully immersive position where you are literally involved in every facet of the show. Now, you can pull back from certain facets if you can always delegate, and if you're not, that's why we have a writing team, and that's why Jay and I are partners, so that one person doesn't need to do everything. But yeah, for the most part, the job of the showrunner is to be involved from the breaking of every episode, which is just the brainstorming, to the outlining, to the writing. Will be either on set or have a writer on set for the shooting, and then be in editing all the way through up to airing. And then you're deputizing other writers to carry out some of those duties along the way. But it's a lot, especially on this show where we did 10 episodes on a super compressed schedule. So sometimes you're juggling many episodes at one time.
Yeah, I mean, as we talk, it is Monday night. The final episode is going to hit Peacock on Thursday. And I know you guys didn't wrap filming more than 3 or 4 weeks ago. That's extremely tight in TV times.
Yeah, I mean, it evolves as you go, right? It's every facet of production I enjoy. Like when we start, we're just writers in a room brainstorming, and that's a wonderful, time, to kind of blue sky it. But then once you get into prep and production, you're dealing with that animal. And then once you start shooting, you're dealing with, editing as well and post. And the hard part is when it all starts to happen at once. Somewhere around episode 4, you're planning out your the back half of the season with the writers. You're in prep and shooting on early episodes, and you're in post editing and doing the sound mix and looking after visual effects. And at a certain point, you're working on 7 episodes at once every day, and you can only give it so much attention. And that's where the delegating kind of comes into play, and that's when it's its craziest. And that's a real challenge, just to balance everything. But Dan and I, we split things up as needed. If I'm on set and handling prep and production, he'll generally take over more of the writing or editing and whatever needs to happen back in LA. So it's a fluid thing when he's on set and I'm on set, and we kind of just go back and forth. But it's important on a new show, especially, that we see everything. I mean, really almost every decision has to go by us. I mean, and we have to put our eyes on it, and every little thing that may seem inconsequential, from costumes to hair, makeup, to props, we have to put an eye on it. So it really is an all-encompassing job that when it's your show, when it's something you created, you don't mind the hours, but it really is an extraordinary amount of time you have to commit to it. Yeah.
So let's talk into the focus of our vlog has been to kind of look at some of the Masonic symbols and elements of Freemasonry that you guys have woven into the plot. And just like Dan Brown and his work, you've done such a great job of blurring that line between reality and fiction. I mean, did you have Masonic history or knowledge ahead of time?
We had Dan Brown.
Well,
So
that's a handy thing to have.
we literally had, we had the book. We had Dan, who, if we ever got stuck on something or felt ourselves to be in need of an idea or some inspiration, we could just shoot Dan an email. And he's incredibly responsive and obviously has a lot of knowledge at his disposal, and he would be helpful. And then, yeah, we did our own research. I mean, Jay could speak to maybe a little bit more of the Masonic research.
Yeah, I mean, we did work on a show early in our career that revolved around Masons, but when that came and went, we sort of forgot a lot of everything we learned about it. And I'd known a little from my grandfather, who was a 32nd degree Mason in Madison, Wisconsin. But when it came to the show, yeah, Dan Brown's book obviously was the guy. Whenever we ventured out on our own, though, there was, a handful of writers that we have that would research it. Like when we were trying to figure out what went on in, initiations, like that, you kind of have to comb the internet. But obviously some stuff had gotten out and we could kind of read about what those initiations were like and how they progressed. And then it was just about how do we condense that for television? That's really the trick of it. You have some long initiations and really interesting things are said during them, but we have to condense them. And obviously in our show, some of those scenes took place in a more of in a dreamscape. So we took, quite a few liberties with it, but tried to kind of retain the spirit of it. And we would run everything by Dan Brown is the answer. Anything that we went out on our own to find, he would read and have a chance to, comment on or tweak or correct. So, we always felt great to have Dan there as a backstop.
And I have to compliment, I don't know what role you guys played in this. I know there's a team of professionals behind you, but the Temple Room set that you guys have, I mean, it's about as good as you're going to get short of showing up in DC with some cameras. It was great, very well done.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear.
I, for all along, said eventually you guys are going to have to show up in DC with some cameras. There's no way they could do this. And then when you did, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe it. So, and I'm sorry for being a fanboy. It was just really awesome.
Fine. We were huge fans of our production designer, Rocco Matteo. Like all credit goes to him and his department who, if you get some high res images of the temple, he just went off of that. And I'm not sure if he reached out to you guys specifically to get measurements, but obviously, we did have to go through legal and clear it, make sure, we had everyone's permission. And with that came, I think, some direction as to, the size and shape of things. I think the scale is a little bit different, but Rocco is meticulous. He's so meticulous in the details, and it's really important to him to get it right. He built the Capitol Rotunda in the pilot to 2/3 scale, and it's incredible what he's been able to achieve on a small, and on not a lot of time. He didn't have a lot of time to build that, but it's an incredible set, and we were really lucky to have it for a couple episodes. And literally, once we yelled cut and moved out of that set, they started taking it down.
Wow, really?
It's in the bin now. That's what they say. Yeah, I know. You sort of wanted to keep it open and give tours, but would love to have had you guys up to check it out, but the borders were closed. So
yeah,
in the bin it went.
That Tyler's chair is one. I host a thing called the Tyler's Place podcast, so I kind of think of that as my chair. Please don't tell anybody I said that. I'll get so slammed for that. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, I can't believe they took it down. All right. So again, pardon me for fanboying, but it really did blow me away. I know there are people who nitpick and say, well, this carpet's not the exact right. Shut up. It's so good. It's so good.
It's really, honestly, it's super heartening to hear that from you specifically. And just to know that you haven't been alienated by the rest of the series in any way. So that's all palatable to someone with your knowledge. So that's good.
I will tell you this. Here's the strangest thing about the Symbols and Secrets vlog. I originally conceived it with the idea that people would watch the show, see a Masonic symbol, be curious about it, maybe do a Google search, and we'd be able to say, okay, here's what they were doing, how they were having fun with it. And I look at it as Freemasonry is almost a character in the show. There's, it's playing a role in the show to help move that story along. And I thought people who were not Masons would look into it and have questions, and we could answer them. And the opposite has in fact been true. Masons have been watching it and and looking at what we're doing and then using it as a sort of an additional Masonic education, because we're giving them little nuggets that they didn't know about. And some of the symbols that you guys have done a great job with the Easter eggs, the Ouroboros that was in there, or pointing out little things that other people in the show missed, Masonic elements. Because I watch every episode like 4 times just to make sure I don't miss anything, because the last thing I want is somebody coming out and go, you missed. Everybody's favorite game is, I'm smarter than the DJ. And it's really been fantastic that thousands of Masons have watched and they are loving it just the same way I am. They appreciate that it's an element of the show and it's fun. So it's actually really great.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm really glad to enjoy it. And I've watched, Secrets and Symbols, and I really appreciate the way that you acknowledge the way we're having fun with things, obviously, because we've changed a little bit from the book, and we created the Leviathan group, which is obviously outside of the Masons in a way to like make them more of an antagonist in the show. When we did that deliberately, not wanting to like attack Freemasonry, but to create a separate entity which served as more of a villain in the show. Well, we're excited that it's gonna have its finale this Thursday. So all 10 episodes will be available for everyone finally. Like, some people like to binge watch and maybe have been waiting to watch. So it's nice that now they're all available. And
like Jay said, we have been consumed. So now we are no longer consumed and waiting for the next leg of whatever the journey is.
Season 2, do we get to see more of a young Robert Langdon? Are we going to get to see more traipsing around DC? Maybe the Knights of Columbus are gonna have some mystery to solve or something.
There's 3 words. I don't know. And that's truthfully, like, we don't know. If there's going to be a season 2, maybe. And if there is a season 2, what that would entail creatively, it's all up in the air right now.
Gotcha.
They're collecting, all the data. I think once all 10 are available, they'll see additionally, who comes to watch the show. But it's in their court, and they'll tell us when they're ready. But we're thinking about what possibly season 2 could be. There's certainly other books that Dan has written that are available that we could talk to Dan about. He's writing one now, but as it stands now, it's wide open. So.
Any thoughts about joining Freemasonry after being so involved in it? Jay, you've got a family history of it, so you've got. I do. You've got some Masonic heritage.
I have been tempted, earlier in my life to look into it, because one of my best friends, also his grandfather was in it. He's from Kansas, and there was a time I remember the chapters out here were getting popular and getting some press. Went out in Pacific Palisades, but I don't actually think I qualify anymore to become a Mason.
Why is that?
Based on your one rule for what you need to become a Freemason, which is to believe in God.
So you're an atheist.
Yeah. So I don't qualify, unfortunately.
But some of my best friends are the same boat.
Yeah. I'm fascinated by the Freemasons, and I'll always read stories about them and watch movies about them, but I don't think I can join.
Well, if something changes, we know some guys. Just how
okay.
about you, Dan? Same question.
It's so I'm having this experience right now where I'm just reflecting on how odd it is. I never considered it. Like, never occurred to me. So it's just odd to me that you are the first person actually who has asked, hey, you produced the Lost Symbol, and has it made you more or less inclined to become a Freemason or anything? And it's just actually, honestly, never occurred to me. So I have to think about it. I guess I've been too busy putting stuff down on the page and not really absorbing it in terms of what it would mean for me personally,
Well, you do know that Masons, by honor, really are not allowed to recruit. No Mason is ever going to walk up to you and say, "Hey, do you want to be a Mason?"
We do know that, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't realize that, and I hear all the time, like, I was with this group of guys, played golf with them forever, and they never asked me to join. It's like, because they're not allowed to ask you to join. It's
I've heard of that. Yeah.
So it's except my son, he's going to become a Mason whether he likes it or not when he's 18. So.
Right. Well, that's what Peter Solomon thought, and look how that turned out. So
yeah, be careful.
You know what? That's a good place to leave it. I can't thank Jay and Dan enough for taking so much time and giving us some inside details on Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol. A lot of fun to chat with them, and I hope we can do it again soon. If you've got a question, a comment, an idea for Symbols and Secrets, let us know, and please stay tuned because the final episode drops on Peacock tomorrow as I record this. So please keep an eye out for that, watch that, and then you can jump over here and check out my review of episode 10 of Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol right here on the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry Southern Jurisdiction YouTube channel. I'm Maynard Edwards, your host. Again, like the video, give us a comment, please subscribe to the channel, and we will catch you very soon as we continue to talk about all of those symbols and secrets in Dan Brown's The Lost Symbol. Hey, if you're watching this video and you want to learn how to become a Freemason, click this video right here and it's going to give you a step-by-step process to follow on how to connect with a Masonic Lodge. And if you're already a Master Mason interested in joining the Scottish Rite, click this link right here and it's going to take you to the Scottish Rite website where you can sign up to become a Scottish Rite Mason right now.